Roughly half the global human population will experience a menstrual cycle, a physical routine that repeats for decades of their lives. Yet, because of pervasive social stigma and historically poor health education, the actual mechanics of the cycle are largely obscured. Many people navigate surface-level symptoms without a clear map of what their body is actually doing. How does this process operate mechanically, and why did evolution engineer it this way? The visible act of bleeding marks the final stage of a continuous 24/7 internal biological clock. To understand menstruation, we have to look past the physical symptoms and track the 28-day cycle of preparation that makes this stage necessary. This diagram outlines the architecture of the female reproductive system. The central structure is the uterus, flanked by the fallopian tubes, which connect out to the ovaries. The cycle begins when the brain's pituitary gland sends a chemical message down to the ovaries. The ovaries respond to this signal by ramping up production of estrogen, releasing it directly toward the uterus. The inner wall of the uterus is called the endometrium. Fueled by that estrogen, the endometrium thickens, weaving a dense network of blood vessels to create a nutrient-rich environment for a potential embryo. Midway through the cycle, at the point of ovulation, a mature egg bursts from a follicle in the ovary and drifts into the fallopian tube. This creates a brief window for fertilization. To keep the newly built uterine lining stable while the egg travels, the body begins producing a second hormone called progesterone. The entire first half of this cycle is an energy-intensive biological gamble, with the body fully committing its resources to constructing a specialized environment for a pregnancy that may not occur. If the egg passes through the system unfertilized, the body detects that this custom-built environment is no longer required. This chart tracks the hormonal shift. Estrogen and progesterone levels peak in the middle of the month to build the lining, but without a fertilized egg, both lines plummet to near zero. That sudden chemical crash acts as a physical trigger, causing the blood vessels in the endometrium to constrict and cut off their own supply. Starved of nutrients, the upper layer of tissue dies and physically detaches from the uterine wall. The muscular walls of the uterus then contract to push the unneeded tissue and blood out of the body. This final stage of expulsion is the act of menstruation. This flow is the result of a highly coordinated dismantling protocol, a necessary reset that clears the system. Zooming out from the microscopic machinery, the day-to-day experience of a period is often uncomfortable and physically taxing, but the biological evidence reveals a coordinated evolutionary reset button. Mapping the chemistry and physics behind the cycle strips away the mystery and shame that have historically surrounded the process. When the specific hormonal triggers of the 28-day cycle are understood, the physical experience becomes a sequence of predictable events that can be tracked and managed. Menstruation is the body's method of clearing the canvas, maintaining the health of the reproductive system so the preparations can begin all over again.